Hello and welcome to Amigos IAS. I'm Adnan. Yesterday, MS Swaminathan, the father of Green Revolution in India, passed away at the age of 98. He has been the recipient of Padma Vibhushan Award in India and he has made immense contribution to handle the issue of food security in India, especially in the 1960s and the 70s. So, in this backdrop, let us try to understand what is Green Revolution, what are the different elements of Green Revolution, and what are the positive and negative impacts of Green Revolution. So, let us start this particular session by understanding what is Green Revolution. So this term has been used for the first time in a speech by United States aid program, US aid program in 1968 by William S. Gould. So US aid does a lot of developmental initiatives, especially in the least developing countries and the developing world. So in this speech given by the administrator of US aid program, William S. Gould talked about this concept of green revolution. That means we have to bring revolution in terms of food production in the world. So this term is associated mostly with American agronomist Norman Borlaug in the 1960s. He is an agricultural scientist, he is an agronomist. He is known as the father of green revolution globally in the world. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970 for his work in developing high-yielding varieties of wheat is the important term here. Okay, so Norman Borlaug is mostly associated with wheat production, having high-yielding varieties of wheat. And what is Green Revolution? It's a period of technology transfer initiatives which saw increased crop yields and agricultural production. That means we're talking about modernization of agriculture. That is a key term which we have to understand. So, of course, this class is focused from mostly from mains perspective because this question will be asked in either General Studies Paper 3, in cropping systems, agriculture, or in GS1 as well for geography. Okay, so these concepts are integrated towards both of these. So let's try to understand. Increasing crop yields is very important aspect here. Agricultural production has to enhance or increase. These changes in agriculture began in developed countries in early 20th century and they spread globally till 1980s is the backdrop here. What about India? Of course, in India also it has been introduced in 1960s and 70s. Fine, it is associated with agricultural production already we have understood. When India's agriculture was converted into an industrial system due to the adoption of what modernization techniques like high yielding varieties, tractors, irrigation facilities, pump sets, pesticides, fertilizer. That means we are going for modernization of agriculture by using seeds which produce high yield in a short span of time. And we are also using agricultural implements, the machines, to facilitate this particular agricultural crop production. That means green revolution is nothing but a revolution which tries to enhance agricultural production by using modernization, okay, or I can say modern agricultural implements. So in India, MS Swaminathan led this revolution, spreading from 1967-68, 77 to 77-78. This particular phase of green revolution happened in India. It changed India's status from a food deficient country to one of the world's leading agricultural nations. So, a little bit about MS Swaminathan. Okay, his father was from medical profession, and it was expected that he would also go to medical profession. He also cleared civil services. But one important point is during 1942, when Mahatma Gandhi called for quit India. At that time, India also was going through famine, especially in Bengal. Okay, in this particular 42-43 phase, the Bengal famine reportedly have killed 2 to 3 million people by various accounts. Large scale devastation. Famine. This famine, of course, was engineered by the British because they were transferring all the grains to the soldiers who were fighting in the World War II. So at that time, the entire focus of the country, of course, was on the famine. And MS Swaminathan also got affected by this particular famine, and he felt that instead of joining medical college, let me join an agricultural college, and that is how he got interested in this agriculture field. And from there he went to different countries in Europe and USA, different universities, and he learned about the importance of genetic engineering as well. So this is the basic background of MS Swaminathan. He has won World Food Prize in 1987, which is considered as an equivalent to the like Nobel Prize in food. agriculture. Okay, so 1987 he got this prize, and he also chaired many institutions. For example, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, Worldwide Fund for India. Okay, and also he headed the Indian Council for Agricultural Research. He was the Director General of this. So number of institutions he has headed in his lifetime. Okay, he also was chairman of National Commission for Farmers in 2005. Okay, that means his personality, clearly depicts the kind of influence he has left in this world, and because of what he has been honored in several institutions across India and the world as well. Fine, so we'll learn more about him as I keep speaking about this topic. Fine. So, why Green Revolution was required? The backdrop is important for us. After independence, of course, India was a very impoverished country, and the population, of course, was increasing after independence, and food production was not in consonance with the population increase. So, productivity of agricultural declined thanks to the colonial policies of the British. India could not have productive agricultural systems, and second point is lack of resources to modernize agriculture sector, because the entire colonial loot, what happened, has reduced India to a very poor country. As a result, we did not have enough equipment or the resources to modernize our agriculture. And see here, demand of population was rising at 2.2% per annum. Earlier it was 1%. That means population is increasing a lot. As a result, we have to feed an increasing population, but it is not matched with the corresponding agricultural production. So what happened? For even basic staple food items also, India was dependent on the foreign countries like USA. So there is a program called PL 480, Public Law 480 program. So India has started importing food grains, especially wheat, from America. It was a public law of USA which prompted USA to send the food surplus, whatever they have in their country, to the developing or least developing countries. And there, what happens is they are going to sell it at rupees. That means whatever the currency of that country is there, in that mechanism, they're going to offer these countries to purchase those food grains. So India, of course, foreign exchange reserves are not very high, but still we need to purchase food grains for meeting food security of Indians, and it was paid in rupees. It is called as PL 480 program. This was from USA. And of course, green revolution was required also because of the reasons why we have to also feed the population of India and also provide some kind of employment opportunities, because at that time 90% of Indians living in villages, okay, 6 lakh villages of India, they had not much employment opportunities except agriculture. So we have to also increase their employment opportunities and incomes as well. For that, we required green revolution at that time. And also one of the reasons is USA, because of the India USA did not have the kind of strong relationship what we have today. At that time, USA used to pressurize India many times, sorry, for the political purposes, and at times it suspended this PL 480 program also. India faced a lot of problems at that time. If USA suspends this program, India also was going through famine in the 1966 period. They were purchasing around 10 million tons of wheat from USA as part of this program. And before that, of course, Lal Bahadur Shastri also has given an important call. India was living in a kind of economy which was called as ship to mouth economy. What is ship to mouth means? From these ships, this packages will be coming in containers, and from directly it will go to our mouth. Ship to mouth economy India was addressed as. And Lal Bahadur Shastri has once remarked to Indians during the time of Pakistan war was going on, right? So he has told one famous statement. He asked Indians that on Mondays, please don't eat anything, we have less food. So all these things have prompted India to go for green revolution. Now what happened here was, in 1966, already this was initiated in Mexico. From there we brought tons and tons, 16,000 at least tons of high yielding disease resistant variant of wheat, and it was brought to the agricultural productive region of Punjab. Okay, it was an epoch making event ushering India into green revolution, and it will help us from this mass famine, and also it will reduce our dependence on the foreign countries from where we are purchasing the food grains. That was the important step in India. Thousands of tons of this wheat high yielding variety seeds were taken from Mexico, and India started this green revolution program. Fine. And for this, of course, you require some water. irrigation facilities. I'll come back to that. So what are the different elements as a part of this revolution? Okay, increasing farm areas. We have to increase the area which has to be cultivated. India has the second largest area cultivable for agriculture as of now. So it has a result of this green revolution. See here, 97.32 million hectares in 50 to 126 million hectares in 2014. That was a magnanimous increase in the area which is cultivable, the arable land. And use of high yielding variety seeds also was increased, okay, for rice, for wheat, for maize. So for all these crops we have taken new different strains. That means Norman Borlaug would come to India and he helped India. He, along with Swaminathan, both of them together developed wheat varieties for specific for India's system, okay, high yielding varieties. These seeds are helpful for more production and also to offset any kind of diseases in crops. So as you know, there is an agency in the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Indian Council for Agricultural Research. They developed a lot of strains of this particular HYVs. And double cropping system, because India was naturally dependent on monsoon at that time, so only one crop cycle was there. But now, because of increase in irrigation facilities, more dams, more tube wells, for example in Punjab, already they have Bhakra Nangal Dam, through which they will be able to have this good irrigation facilities. And not only that, so many solar pump sets were built, and several tube wells also, thousands, at least 90,000 tube wells were dug for irrigation facilities, because growing more amount of crops in a short span of time in multiple cycles will require good irrigation facilities. So India, one season per year practice goodbye, and from now onwards double cropping system has to be introduced in the second phase. That also happened in the green revolution. And we also established to give some incentive for the farmers, that if you produce this food grains, staple food grains like rice and wheat, we are going to give you some minimum support price. So in 1965, what government of India has done is it set up a body called Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. Costs and prices means it is going to decide what should be the minimum support price for the certain amount of food grains. For example, rice and wheat. If you cultivate so and so amount of rice, we are going to guarantee you per the quantity, we are going to guarantee you some kind of minimum support price for you. That means this particular MSP is a guarantee. I can say it's a remunerative practice, because it guarantees certain fixed remuneration for the farmers to produce these food grain. That means the ultimate uh, aim of us is to enhance the food grain production to meet the demands of the population. For that, we are saying that if you farmers grow these crops, we are going to guarantee you certain amount of MSP. Okay, that also step was taken. So from 1966-67, we are seeing in India MSP concept coming into emergence thanks to this CACP. But one important point is ultimately the amount of MSP is decided by the government itself. This committee only recommends it. And what happened? Positive impacts. Obviously, increase in crop production happened. Some statistics are there here. See the growth rate of food grain output has increased per year 2.4% annual increase in 1965 to 3.5% after 1965. That is the change here. And see here, wheat production increased from 50 million tons in 50 to 79 million tons in 1964, and later 95.1. That means exponential rise of wheat production in India. And see here, total grain output 131 million tons, sorry, in 1978-79. That means the impact of green revolution is that India became a food surplus nation. Rice yields jumped from about 2 tons per hectare in 1960s to 6 tons per hectare in mid 1990s. Increase in rice production as well. So it is the important impact here. Reduction in import of food grain. Obviously, if you are having increasing production in domestic arena, obviously you have to reduce the imports from other countries, right? So self-sufficient India became, and also it became surplus as well. Fine, enough stocks were there in India. So green revolution, from food deficient country to India became food surplus country in the world. So enhancing farmer incomes, obviously it is going to enhance the farmers incomes, because now there is more production, more fertility also happens because of fertilizers production use is also there. So exponential growth rate in the incomes of the farmers happened 4 times four times average income has risen thanks to green revolution. It increased the bargaining power of the farmers because now they became very powerful. And of course, one important point to understand here is the dominant the castes, agricultural castes became very important in India, and this also will change the political landscape of India because of increasing incomes means more bargaining power. Some agricultural castes will become very important in India, and it gives rise to several caste-based agricultural groups becoming important political entity in India. It will change the Indian political system as well. That is a topic for discussion for some other day. And next impact, industrial growth, because you require a lot of agricultural implements. Definitely you should require industrial growth. So mechanization, like for example tractors, threshers, harvesters, combines, diesel engines, electric motors, pumping sets, all require what? Industrial growth. So because of industrial growth only we can achieve these things. So green revolution created a demand for this. Okay, there was an increase in demand for chemical fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, weedicides, etc., herbicide, whatever you can call it as. Okay, and rural employment also increased. More and more agriculture happening, more labor force demand is there. Okay, multiple crops are there, fertilizers use are there. So green revolution has brought, see here, both in agriculture and industries, employment opportunities have increased here. Fine. Negative impacts, as you can guess, loss of soil fertility and nutrients because of focus on single crop, because of excessive focus on monocropping systems. So what happens? This monoculture will not help the soil fertility. It is going to affect the soil fertility because of having single crop. Nutrients will not recycle also if you have one single crop always. Soil toxicity, because excessive use of fertilizers means it is going to destroy the quality of the soil. Toxic, it becomes poisonous. Okay, and presence of residues in foods and environment, because the pesticides will leave certain residues which will remain in the soil, and also in the food that we consume we are going to get several diseases as well. Some people blame, many cancers also have risen in India, especially in the agricultural rich belts like Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. They link that to the green revolution, which actually increased our reliance on fertilizers because you want more production, right? So soil erosion also is one of the important an impact of, which is not a negative impact on the increase of this green revolution. Major depletion of groundwater, because many tube wells have been dug up, and because these rice, wheat, they all require more and more water for irrigation. As a result, groundwater depletion happened a lot. Even NASA has warned this in their report that the northern belt of India is going to be completely food water insecure in the coming years. And Niti Aayog report also has warned that India is going to become a completely water scarce country because thanks to this agricultural practices which are quite harsh on the use of groundwater. And this impact, of course, we are going to face in the future, and we are already facing now also. Fine. Farmers shift to unsustainable practices to obtain more yield. That means it's a combination of all these things. Unsustainable practices, they are using monocultural practices, more fertilizers for the sake of more yield. It is going to impact the environment negatively. Decline in production of indigenous rice varieties. India has lost crop diversity, diversity of seeds as well, rice varieties, millet varieties, all these have been lost because now you're using only what? You're using only high yielding varieties. So the traditional gene bank what we used to have in the past, the traditional seeds what we used to have in the past, we have lost many of those indigenous varieties of seeds thanks to this HYVs. Okay, loss of several native crops also happened because you are going only for those crops where there is high yield and where there is also MSP. MSP guarantees you some kind of remuneration. So you're not going for diverse crops. You're going for only those crops for high yields, for high returns. Okay, it impacts the nutrition because micronutrition nutrient deficiency happens if you concentrate only on the starch crops, okay, cereals. So what happens is you are not going to get enough nutrition. For example, iron, vitamins, lot of micronutrients will not be there in those traditional rice and wheat crops. And because of more carbohydrates, lot of people in India today have disease burdens also. Diabetes, India, one of the largest diabetes infected population, diabetes affected population in the world is India. So all these are also attributed to the excessive consumption of rice and wheat in India and neglect of varieties like millets. Of course, now the government is trying to rectify that. We are going more and more for indigenous varieties like millet production also has been enhanced in India. We will discuss that in the next class about the problems which have been rectified after this negative impacts. Okay, impact on diet habits and decrease of natural resistance in people. Iron deficiency will cause anemia. Okay, that is also a negative impact, very severe problem in India. And what else? Increasing suicides, because you need to have these agricultural implements, you need to have these tractors, you need to have these pump sets, you need to have lot of threshers. So because of this increasing expenses for farming, debts also will increase. Lack of institutional credit means they have to resort for money lenders, and they will take a lot of debts, and the crops may not be successful. As a result, farmers will be going for suicide. Many small farmers sold their lands to large commercial farmers. They are not able to withstand the food inflation and economic crisis. So as a result, many of them will leave farming also, and they go for other occupations as well. Of course, still even today also India has 58% of people dependent on agriculture, but the incomes are declining. That is a major factor here. Fine. And it was also mostly regional based, like Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh were the areas where green revolution was concentrated. Traditionally, these are having no agricultural productive zones they are, and there itself this green revolution was concentrated. It was not much successful and not much taken care of in other areas of India, especially the eastern part of India was neglected. Okay, so what can be done then? The next thing is in 1968 itself, MS Swaminathan, he has understood the problems of this social, economic, ecological problems of green revolution, and he warned at that time itself that we have to go for evergreen revolution. So now we're talking about what? Green Revolution 2.0. So it was introduced. Why? Because of the context of food crisis and severe scarcity of food in the country. Of course, at that time, Green Revolution was good because food crisis has been reduced, food security has been addressed, and India was self-sufficient. But what are the negative impacts? We have just seen that social, economic, and environmental impacts are there. So for that, we need to go for second Green Revolution to offset those particular negative impacts. Sustainable agriculture, conservation agriculture are very much in news. Technological advancement can be done to remove the problems of the first green revolution. That is what is the way forward here. But again, the topic is not done. We have to discuss what is second green revolution, and what are the elements of second green revolution, and what government of India is doing today to offset the problems created by first green revolution. But we will discuss that in the second segment of this particular class. So I will see you again with the explanation on green revolution 2.0. If you have any questions, please post in the comment box. I'll be happy to reply. See you. Thank you.